Hey, what's up, guys? Arav here, and welcome to an instant race reaction for the 2019 Belgian Grand Prix. Myself and Tom here today. Obviously, the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend was an interesting race, to say the least, because unfortunately we had the tragic passing of F2 driver Anthoine on Saturday, and so everyone raced on for Anthoine that race, and I think I can safely say, due to the result of that race, it really was one for him, because Charles Leclerc came home to win his very first race in Formula One. Charles, very good friends with Anthoine. The French drivers, Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly, Leclerc, and Anthoine Hubert, all very, very close, came up together through karting all the way through junior category. So it only seems fitting that he won that race. But in a weekend where it was a very tough weekend for the entire motorsport community, I think, Tom, we can say that was actually a very decent race for the Belgian Grand Prix. It started off as a bit of a slow burner, but towards the end especially was a real exciting one with a midfield fight, once again proving to be really top, really, really top this season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think last year was a pretty naff race. Nothing really happened. This was good. Really, really good. There was a good mix of just on-track overtakes and also strategy chess play, between Ferrari and Mercedes.
Yeah.
And Ferrari, knowing they didn't have the pace and they had to kind of sacrifice Vettel in a way just so that Mercedes could not win the race, because I think at the end it proved critical. That those laps Vettel kept Hamilton behind proved to be critical with the gap they had across the line and how Leclerc's tyres fell away at the end. So
I still felt it was a bit odd though, because I was watching the race and I initially when Vettel was pumping in those fast lap times, I really thought he was going to do a two-stop and go very aggressive and try and get the second place back that way, or even try and go for the win that way. But in the end, then they kind of just did the Ferrari thing where they kind of let it slip a little bit too long, and then they had to revert to this different strategy, which in the end obviously still, like you said, worked beautifully for Leclerc. And for once, Vettel is very weird to see Vettel being the one that had to be the kind of backstopper to help the teammate out, but he did it perfectly, basically, like you said. Those few laps, very crucial, because Hamilton was right there at the end. The second last lap, he gained like a second or more in the second sector alone, so it would have been so fine if it was one more lap in the race. So in the end, it worked out perfectly, but it was a bit odd. I really thought they should have just done that two-stop and committed way earlier, and I think looking at the pace Vettel had in that second stint, I think it could have been quite close to actually working out quite well for him if he did that two-stop, but I guess we'll never know.
I think he didn't have any fresh tyres left, only a set of hards, which was
right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, perhaps,
I saw, and also as well, I think in a weird way, while I agree with you, at the time I was thinking the same thing, with hindsight, had Vettel not stayed out and held Hamilton up, Leclerc wouldn't have won the race.
Yeah, true, very true, very true.
So in that way, I can let it slide in a way. I was happy with Ferrari getting it right, because they pit Vettel first, and so many times this season they've let the undercut pass them by, so the team behind, Mercedes probably will get them, but they pit Vettel first and protected the undercut threat, so therefore Mercedes had to stay out and they tried to go long like they always do. That kind of took the pressure off Leclerc, to be honest. If Hamilton undercuts Vettel, it's a different race.
For sure. Yeah.
Ferrari for once didn't miss the opportunity. They pit him at the right time and didn't mess up. They didn't leave themselves exposed for any holes for Mercedes to try and exploit and try and get through. Ultimately, I knew after 5 laps Ferrari were not going to get a 1-2 today, and I wasn't expecting a 1-2. Ultimately, the race runs on Friday proved that Mercedes had good pace and Ferrari had tyre degradation issues. So overall, I'm just happy Ferrari got the win. On paper, summer breaks come and gone. They've bounced back with a win. Monza's next. Ferrari once again be favourites to win there.
It's really good timing.
So it's good timing, and if in that time they can work on an upgrade package, put some more air on the car for Singapore and so on, they could end the season strongly. Like I said before in the podcast before the summer break, I said it's a good chance if they can bounce back these next 2 races, they could have a strong second half. They tend to fall off, Ferrari, not get stronger. So there could be a chance for a change in the tendency there. But well done Leclerc. Fantastic race. He deserved that, and a long time coming.
Oh yeah,
and, Hamilton.
We've had it since Bahrain. So
and then also Hamilton GGs as well. Like relentless. It's just not over until it's over with Hamilton. All the time, he's just on it. And he's like, you can see how when he got past Vettel, he took a few laps to just kind of cool things off, take it easy, let the tyres come back to him. And then he waited until the last 5 laps, and he's like, you know what, we're going to go for this. Similar to Hungary, which we saw live, he just started pumping in the lap after lap after lap. And Bottas was just there. Again, just one of them ones.
And just always there.
And Vettel with a sacrifice play, which I think, fair enough, he took it really well. I think...
I think he had to after once they'd made
Yeah.
that commitment of going a bit too long then and not going to a 2-stop perhaps. It was basically a case of, okay, this is my job then today, trying to get the team a win at least, a team that, the win that's long overdue for the team. Obviously, they should have got it at Bahrain, really. They could have maybe had it, places like Baku as well, perhaps, with Leclerc.
Well, and Canada.
Canada, yeah, and Canada especially, obviously. So it's been a long, long time for Ferrari. Great time for them, like you said, Tom, going to Monza. They will be very strong around there with the straight line pace they've got. So they'll be very confident of a home win, which would be crazy to see, really, for them. Especially after such a difficult year, having back-to-back wins would be pretty crazy. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. But it's great timing for them. And yeah, that momentum for the rest of the season is really good. Away from the top four, then, we had a really interesting battle, though, for the top 10 positions. In the end, Albon got P5 in his first race in the Red Bull. Perez, Kvyat, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Stroll to the end of the top 10. But let's talk about Lando Norris, P11. He was running in that P5. Oh my God, can you get any worse luck in a race on the last lap, onto the last lap? He gets like an anti-stall failure and has to finish the race on the grass on the side. Absolutely, unreal. I can't believe it.
It's he's been very unlucky this season, Norris. On the slide, he's been very unlucky. But there was a race where he had his power steering go, or his hydraulics. I can't remember. He was
I think
sick,
it was Germany, wasn't
and he kind of, it might have been. He trickled down. Again, he was running sick for like really high up, and it kind of went.
Oh,
and
that was France. That was France. But he had hydraulics in Germany. It was like some steering issue at France or whatever. Yeah.
So he's had his fair share of bad luck. Like McLaren, I was looking at the standings. They're pushing the 100-point barrier, but they could have a lot more points, McLaren, if just a bit of reliability and a bit of luck.
In a way, it's in a way that's kind of good in terms of to say they're here in best rest, and they could be even better without these issues. Like I've always said, I've had the same philosophy like the F1 game. I'd rather have a fast car and then it brake a lot than have a solid car that's just slow. So for them, they can solve these reliability issues. They can try and solve them. You can't solve not having pace. So at least that's the positive. But obviously that's not going to be anything that Norris can take away, because at the end of the day, he's been robbed of what would have been his best F1 finish, and right now Carlos Sainz has still got that kind of mantle then for McLaren of having those P5s back to back. So that was really, really gutting, because Norris, really amazing race start, got 7 overtakes done to turn 1, nipped down the inside that whole collision with Verstappen and Raikkonen. Mega stuff. I mean, he said at this before the race to Martin, a little bit subdued because of the whole ambience of the thing. He just said, we're just going to go racing and see what we can do. And what he could do was basically rob everyone of a position and get up into P5, and basically just had a very boring race up until then. So that was a mega shame. But Albon got the P5 in the end. I've got to say, it started off slow because he was on the slower tyre, and so he was kind of caught up in traffic, and it was the kind of like Gasly kind of vibe at the very start of the race. But it came good. The strategy came through on the faster tyre at the end. He was going really well, and some nice punchy moves there were down the inside into the bus stop, or on the Kemmel straight for the last lap overtake on Perez on the grass a little bit. Pretty impressed by that drive. Very, very mature, solid drive by Albon, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Fantastic. You could just see the confidence as the race went on. He just got quicker and quicker. It helped, of course, having the softer tyre at the end, and that move around the outside of Ricciardo at turn 9, fantastic. Really, really nice move, and the kind of move that they were mentioning on commentary, Helmut Marko wanted Gasly to make, and he didn't. So fair play, GG's, well done, and flying the flag for Red Bull on a day where Verstappen had a bit of a misery, to be honest. Just a bit of a racing incident, to be honest. Dare I say, if there's any blame to be put on, I would put on Verstappen, because he kind of went in a bit hot,
he admitted he went a little bit late on the brakes than he wanted maybe to, and then got caught up in that, and he didn't even make it to his own fans' grandstand, and that's just rude. But
you know what this means? You know what this means? As far as I'm aware, Albon's finished 5th, Verstappen's last, so that means we need to get rid of Verstappen now.
It's time to go, mate. It's time to go. It's time for the Kvyat Albon meta in Red Bull. Get the Toro Rosso boys driving the Red Bull, get the Red Bull boys driving the Toro Rosso, and we'll see what's what.
Exactly. It's got to be fair. It's got to be done. He slapped him up. He's beating him by 15 positions. What can you say? So, Albon's absolutely done him now. It's home Grand Prix, you could say.
Exactly.
In front of all the Verstappen fans.
Exactly.
Listen,
it's been a Toro Rosso boys. Kvyat, pretty damn solid P7, actually. Hulkenberg went from no points to 4 points in one lap because of all the kerfuffles with Norris and Giovinazzi. So that was an absolute finessing by Hulkenberg, because his teammate Ricciardo tried to make a very audacious strategy of pitting on lap 2, going right to the end of the Grand Prix. Didn't work out because he fell down the order to P14. And then Gasly, P9, happy that he got points, because at one point he was outside the points just before the last lap of the Grand Prix chaos happened. So I'm happy he got points, because I wanted him to land on his feet at Toro Rosso, get points. You could see that he actually looked more comfy in that Toro Rosso. I can't lie. I don't know if it was just
Yeah,
me.
he did.
He looked
No,
more
he
comfy
did.
when he was making some of those moves. They're a lot more punchier than I ever saw him in the Red Bull. Like even like his girlfriend in the motorhome was like loving the overtakes, whereas I never saw any of that at Red Bull because it just didn't happen. There was never that vibe. Whereas I felt like even his like surrounding friends and family were like liking the vibe of him trying to push that Toro Rosso as much as he could. Of course, they're wanting to will him on to do well in this difficult phase of his career now, but he definitely looked a bit better. Obviously, the strategy in the end didn't work out. He got held up a little bit in traffic with Stroll and Perez, it was, in the first half of the race, so he didn't quite catch on and keep up with Kvyat. But I think it was still... I was happy to see him get points. It was an okay race for him, I guess.
Yeah, him, Hulkenberg and Stroll, complete shithousery in terms of the way they got into the points with 2 crashes at the end. But it isn't. You got to take it. It is what it is. So fair play to him. And again, he was very close to Kvyat. To be honest, he was in front of him for most of the race. Again, another example of Kvyat compared to Gasly, the inverse tyre strategy, like Albon. The soft tire was just too strong at the end. Like even Giovinazzi, before he crashed out, you could see
it was looking very good. Yeah,
sending moves after the soft tire was just a really strong
good
tire at the end. So GG's to Toro Rosso, also GG's to Racing Point because they're double points finish for them. They look really good this weekend. You can see that the track just suits their car. It just always has. It's just one of them tracks for them.
Oh, always.
And
Historically,
Perez had a good race. He's under investigation, Perez, I think, because of the squeeze he gave Albon onto the grass on the last lap. So that could change.
Since he got overtaken, though, I don't think there'll be much to that.
No, I agree.
And so it's a good way to celebrate that new 3-year contract he's got from Racing Point. That will see him through. And also, they on the sly in the article confirmed Stroll for next year in the Perez article because they're you knew it was going to happen. You knew Stroll was going to stay in the Stroll team, so we don't need to tweet about it and whatever.
Just like last year when they kind of got Ocon at the back door quietly, and they had Stroll testing the car in Abu Dhabi after the season, but it still wasn't confirmed as a driver, but they just kind of quietly put him in there. Same thing again. He's there again. So fair play. I mean, it's good for them to have that stability. So drivers locked down, contracts locked down.
Now just pump the money in
base,
and build that team up. Basically, that's the plan for them. Haas then, a classic Haas really. Start off great qualifying, great first part of the race. Then both of them just like sinking ships.
Dearie me.
Yeah, Magnussen at one point was 1 second slower than Kubica. Robert Kubica. That's that. Let's move on. Let's move on to Renault. We talked about Hulkenberg. Ricciardo, actually, we talked about. He just tried some mad strategy. Didn't in the end pay off, unfortunately, for him because the tyres fell off the absolute cliff. Williams.
Shame, because Renault looked the best of the rest all weekend.
They did look good. It was odd in qualifying. McLaren were very slow in quality, and Renault were actually very good, which mystified me. I'm like, usually McLaren so far has had such a very good aero package that it's always been one of the fastest cars actually in a straight line, and Renault being the one suffering a little bit. Whereas this, in quality at least, it was vice versa. It's very weird. So
Renault
a bit
did
of a shame for them. Yeah, a bit of a shame. Yeah, very much. Yeah, a bit of a shame in that kind of way in terms of the first half and the second half. Williams, quiet race as always for them. Alfa Romeo, like you mentioned, Tom, Gio did have some really good pace on their soft tyres. It was a really shame. That crash was also very odd. He just kind of dropped it mid-corner through Poulon. I don't know. Maybe the tyres were screaming a little bit too much.
Unacceptable crash, in my opinion. He was.
Yeah.
There was no way he wasn't going to get any more positions.
Yeah,
he wasn't going to set the fastest lap of the race. Let's be honest.
He could have been taking it easy. Like he could have just been bringing it home. Basically, yeah, it was very
last lap in P9. He's only got a handful of points to his name, so those were precious points. I think he's only got 2 points so far. He would have doubled his tally with that, getting P9. And,
exactly. So
on a day where Kimi had a miserable one, that's poor.
Yeah,
really poor.
That's that's one of the ones where it's like, okay, need to actually check yourself here, mate. Like that should have been points home straight away. And obviously Raikkonen, damaged floor, so he was always going to be a horrendous race with a damaged floor and damaged whatever of the car.
With Gio, that race. Again, that's the one where, because obviously now that Hulkenberg's out of Renault, the rumour is he'll either go Haas or he'll go Alfa, one or the other. So either Grosjean or Gio.
I could see him at Alfa, I think, in terms of what Alfa
I can see them both, to be fair. But that kind of situation...
Those kind of races stick out. Where it's this is bad for the CV. This is bad for the CV, for sure.
Exactly. So that could be one to look back on in the season, maybe, depending on the driver transfers.
Yeah, totally. But that's the race order then, and that is the Belgian Grand Prix. Just going back to the race winner then, Leclerc and that whole Mercedes v Ferrari fight. Then going to Monza, that will be, like we mentioned, interesting. I think Ferrari will be very, very strong. But I mean, just a final kudos and congratulations to Charles Leclerc for getting his first ever race win in Formula One, the first Monaco flag on the middle of the podium in F1 ever, which is pretty crazy. Like, you're going to remember that. Obviously, this weekend, unfortunately, will be remembered for a lot more than just this race as well. But, these are the things you sort of remember. This is history being made of, the first time you see a Monaco flag in the middle, the first time you hear that anthem, it was actually a really booky anthem, actually. I really enjoyed it. It was actually a nice one.
It was like a parade festival.
Yeah. You know what? Looking forward to hearing that more often in Formula 1, hopefully, knock on wood, for years to come with Leclerc. But on a weekend where, obviously, the Formula 1 world and the entire motorsport world had a bit of a dark cloud over its head after Saturday with the sad passing of Anthoine Hubert, a race like that with Leclerc winning it, a man who was very close to Hubert himself, is just something that needs to happen, really. Destiny, in a way, as some people have been saying on Twitter on my timeline. And congratulations to Charles Leclerc. And that one was for Anthoine. That was simply just the perfect one for him. And with that, that's been instant race reaction to the Belgian Grand Prix. There'll be the usual little bit more in-depth dissection and maybe previewing the Italian Grand Prix to come later on in the week, perhaps, with myself, Tom, and Cal as a full podcast unit. But this has been instant race reaction with myself and Tom. If you did enjoy the video, hit the like button. Let us know what you thought in the comments below of that entire race. And if you are new around here, do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been Aaron, it's been Tom. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.